March 11th, 2021 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th order putting limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Town of Burlington's Conservation Commission is being conducted through remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public are permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting have a number of options. They can go to the BCAT Government Cable Access Channel. They can go to the BCAT Government Meetings Facebook live feed. Or you can join the meeting over the phone at 408-418, it's being shown on the screen, 9388. 408-418-9388. And the meeting number is 179-747-7321. And then there's a password there. The easiest way to get all this information again is to go to the Town of Burlington calendar, go to the Conservation Commission meeting for today, click on it, and you'll see the agenda, and all this information will make it easier for you to join the meeting either by phone or by the WebEx live video. New public hearings open tonight will not be closed, so it was allow comments from those who are unable to access or are uncomfortable with the technology. Comments and concerns regarding public hearings should be emailed to conservation@burlington.org. The next thing I will do is do a roll call of our commissioners. Commissioner Don Bernstein, present or not?
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Gail Lima. Well, I can see you, Gail, so I know you're present. I didn't hear you. Commissioner Indra Deb.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Bill Boyven.
Present.
Commissioner Jennifer O'Riordan.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Ed Laturco.
Present.
Okay. And Associate Commissioner Kent Moffett. He is absent, I understand. Administrator John Keeley.
Present.
Assistant Administrator Eileen Coleman.
Present.
All right, with that, when you're called upon, please introduce yourself and where you live or who you represent. All votes will be by roll call. The meeting's being recorded. And on the agenda tonight, we have item number 5 has been postponed until the next meeting of March 25th. So that is, item number 5 is the continued public hearing, which is a notice of intent for 174 Middlesex Turnpike and the 2nd and 4th Avenue by Nordblum Development Company. It's the construction of a multifamily residential building, DEP file number 122-653, and that meeting has been continued to our March 25th, 2021 meeting. Okay, with that, all right, I guess the first item on the agenda after calling the thing is citizens' time. Is there anyone who is either on the telephone or on web live video that would like to possibly make any comments about something not on the agenda? I guess there is no one for citizens' time. Okay, the third item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, February 11th, 2021. Do the commissioners feel we're in a position to approve those?
Yes.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 11, 2021?
So moved. Bill.
Second.
All right. Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. The minutes are passed by a vote of 7-0-0 for February 11th. All right. Next on the agenda, we'll move to item 4. Notice is given, the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a virtual public hearing, during which time we'll take information related to a notice of intent filed by the Town of Burlington's DPW department for the reconstruction of the Hannes Park parking lot at 70 Mill Street in Burlington. The proposed work would be within the riverfront area in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands and bank pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the Wetlands Protection Act, and Burlington's bylaw, Article 14. The commission will be reviewing all information relative to the application and therefore may issue an order of conditions and a Burlington Wetlands permit for this project. The applicant submit them to conservation@burlington.org. All right, so I can see a few folks. Please start talking and the floor is yours after introductions.
Hi, I'm Megan Cavalier. I'm from the engineering department. Tom Hayes is also on the call. I think he's there. And so is Brennan Egan from Recreation. So I think we're all here. So if you're okay, do you mind if I share my screen? Okay. If it's gonna work for me, I really hope so. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Well done.
Technology is slow today. All right, so we're redoing Rohannes Park. Here is the overview of where it is located. As you can see, it's located off of Patriot Road and off of Mill Street. There's 2 separate parking lots for the same park. So for this project, the larger parking lot off of Patriot Road, I'm just going to refer to as the upper parking lot. And the smaller one off of Mill Street is going to be the lower parking lot. So here is the flood zone map. Basically, there's a stream that runs through the entire park. So the existing conditions for the upper parking lot. So here is what the outline of the pavement is. Here is the 200-foot riverfront zone. So most of this parking lot is in that zone. We're going to add some sections of pavement for parking purposes in this parking lot, but we're also going to be removing some pavement to make the parking lot work a little bit better and be more cohesive for parking purposes. Here is the proposed conditions for this parking lot. So this is the new outline of the pavement. We're going to have a grass swale where all of the water will be pitched to drain into. We're going to put in a new walk over here to where the shed is. We're going to have erosion control to prevent for construction purposes. There's going to be riprap for the outlets to the stream and the low part of the parking lot. A lot of water is going to be drained there, so we didn't want to just have the water unable to drain. So we're going to put riprap to try to treat it a little bit more. And there's going to be multiple area drains in case of high and heavy rain events and the grass swale just can't take any more water. The overflow will be able to drain into these area drains. So for the existing conditions for the lower parking lot, here's the existing pavement, the riverfront zone. So this entire parking lot is within the riverfront zone. This is the pavement that we will be removing, and we will not be adding any more to this section. Here's the proposed conditions with the new pavement, the grass swale, the erosion control, and this catch basin will be removed. It's really not doing anything right now, and it's mostly just filled with water, so we'd rather remove it and treat the water with the grass swale rather than it just going into a catch basin that overflows. And then there will be riprap for where the water will be drained into the stream, and multiple area drains in case of overflow. So here's the proposed layout for the upper parking lot. This is what the parking will look like. We're going to have a protective fence wherever a grass swale is. We don't want cars parking on it and crushing the pipe. We're going to remove this tree. It's currently dying, and if we put in the grass swale where we want to, we're afraid that it will completely die and will have to be removed anyway, so we want to do that before. And there's going to be curbing along the edge of the parking lot to prevent runoff from the fields going into the parking lot and then into the grass swale, because we don't want to clog the pipe. And there's going to be multiple handicap spots. So here is the lower parking lot, again with the protective fence and curbing along the edge. We're also going to have granite curbing to define the entrance a little bit more and not have people drive over places they should not. And then multiple handicap spots. So this is what the area drain will look like. It will have a lockable grate cover so that kids can't go and just pull it off and throw them into the stream, because we do not want that happening. It's easily to be installed, and it should be easy for people to clean it out. There's not a lot of bends, and they'll just be able to scoop the bottom just like they do for regular catch basins. It's going to be surrounded by crushed stone and wrapped in geotextile fabric, so the only openings will be where the perforated pipe comes in. Here's what the grass swale is going to look like. It's going from a plan view. It's going to have 6-inch perforated pipe so that the water can drain in at all places. It's going to be surrounded by crushed stone, and that will be surrounded by geotextile fabric to prevent dirt and debris from coming in and clogging up the pipe. It's going to be covered in gravel and then covered with loam and seed. And the largest depression will only be 3 inches. So it won't just be a huge ditch for people to be in. It won't really hold that much water. So the current impervious area is 57,346 square feet. The proposed is 55,862. So there is a significant change, and we're decreasing the amount of impervious area by 1,484 square feet. So this is the proposed LID drainage. It's all going to be cross-country drainage into the swale. The pipe will be pitched towards the streams, but it's not going to be a super steep slope. It's going to be a very gradual time to take the water to get from point A to point B, because we want it to be able to be clean and treated as much as possible. There's going to be multiple area drains in case of heavy rain events, so that it's not just overflowed with water and then going back into the parking lot. There's currently no drainage system there, so this will actually be able to treat the water before it gets to the stream, and all outlets will go into riprap. So again, we're just trying to treat as much water as possible, because right now the water isn't treated at all. There's going to be a protective fence around the system so that people can't just park. And there's going to be curbing so that there's no runoff from the fields and from the park, because we don't want even more water getting into the stream, and we want it to try to do what it's supposed to. And then most of this project is in the riverfront zone. So out of the whole thing, it's 20,966 square feet. So it is a lot of working within the riverfront zone. And questions?
Okay, Megan, that was very good. Thank you. Good summary. John or Eileen, would you like to contribute some comments?
Sure, I'll handle this. First of all, I'd like to say that this parking lot has been like on our radar for so many years, and it really needed something like this, and we were hoping that an LID solution would be what the town came up with, and so I think this is great. I think they've done a great job with the design. I don't have any real questions or problems. I hope that Brendan will be given the O&M plan, and he'll know how to maintain it. And so one question about the fence, is it going to be a guardrail similar to the guardrail over near the tennis court?
Yeah,
some
so the
guardrails?
fence that's currently out there, we're just basically gonna put that type of fence everywhere.
Yeah.
It looks nice and it's really easy for people to not park there, and it's not very breakable, but it still looks nice for a park.
Right. So once again, the riverfront area, the Mill Street parking lot is riverfront area under both the state and your bylaw. The upper one off Patriot Road is really just a bylaw riverfront area. It's a tributary to Sawmill Brook, but it's not a state riverfront area. That's it. So Larry's frozen. Larry's having
So let's
issues
start
it.
with
There he
Dawn.
is. Okay, good.
Dawn, do you have any comments or questions at this? Connection isn't very good, Dawn. I don't know if that's us or you, but it's not good.
I think he said he had no questions.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that makes it easy, Dawn. How about Gail? Do you have comments or questions?
Yep, just a couple of things. So, you know, I go walk around that park a lot, and my experience has been there's been pretty aggressive mowing historically, where you know, sometimes the bank is mowed a little bit further than it should, and lots of vegetation along the bank. So, how this grassy swale, is this just going to be, I mean, what's going to be the maintenance of it? Is it just going to be left? Is it going to be mowed? What are the details for that?
So from talking with Brennan, we were kind of just going to leave it as much as possible. If it starts to overgrow too much, probably just have them weed whack it so that they're not just mowing all the grass off. That's our current plan.
Yeah,
Talking
I
with
guess-
Brennan.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, the concern is, you know, if they're weed whacking it, those grass clippings shouldn't be going into the stream because that's going to cause problems with water quality. I mean, I don't know if John has any suggestions, and, you know, rather than grass, maybe some type of, you know, kind of seed mix or natural vegetation that's kind of naturally kind of controls itself. It, you know, doesn't need to be cut. It dies back, comes back, and rather than a type of, you know, manicured type grass. So I think the fence is great. Where the fence is going to be along the stream and along the bank, is there going to be curbing there as well?
No, because the water is going to drain
Yep,
into
no, that's
that.
good. No, that's
Yeah,
good.
no, the curbing's only on the opposite side of the fences.
Yep. And so one of the things you've probably seen out there, especially in the park, that the part that's adjacent comes off of Mill Street, there was curbing there, and there's a lot of asphalt pieces that are now in the bank halfway down the stream. There's some concrete there. It'd be nice if that was removed. I think there could be the potential, you know, it's an area that's abused a lot, and there's a potential for maybe more trash because the parking lot for Mill Street with the striping that you have now along the river, you know, people typically park parallel to the bank there. So there's a potential for, if somebody, okay, sorry. Hi, cat. Is that a cat?
Yes.
I'll get my dog. We can have a little thing. The potential for more cars to actually park there with that type of striping could be an issue with more trash. So it'd be nice if there was, in terms of, you know, maintenance, that there could be trash pickup, you know, bottles and stuff that ends up on the bank to make sure that that's removed. But otherwise, you know, it's a you know, tough area, and I agree that areas need to have been some improvement for a long time. That's all I have.
Good, thank you. Indra?
Yeah, first of all, Megan, this is a very nice presentation. Very
Thank you.
nice. I have one question. You mentioned that there's a catch basin there in the
Mhm.
middle, and it's doing nothing. So it's not connected to any piping anywhere?
The piping goes to the stream, but usually that stream has so much water in it that it just kind of goes back to the catch basin. We also want to change that area that the catch basin is currently in and take it away from impervious and make it just grass over there. So it was more beneficial to just take that out because it's always filled with water and trash, and it just wasn't doing what it needed to.
So what you do, you remove the catch basin and seal the pipe, or
Yeah, we'll either seal the pipe, crush the pipe, or just take out the pipe. It
take
kind
it
of
out?
depends based on talking to construction and what they think is best. Most of the time we'll talk with the contractor once that is set.
Okay, thank you. That's what I have.
Okay, Bill?
Yes, I also thought it was an excellent presentation, answered all the questions that I had. I just did have one comment. The area of parking near the vicinity of the shed, that strip where you've got some parking parallel to the tennis court.
Mhm.
I'm glad there's a solid fence there because turning around to get out of those spaces is going to be tight. To tell you the truth, right now, that's where I park when I go to the dog park, and I have to pull on the grass to do a U-turn to get out of there. So it's going to be interesting to see how people can manage that. If, for example, it were full of cars and it was narrowed, getting out of there could be a challenge.
So people will be parallel parking on that side. I did design it based off of what MassDOT requires for the width of the parking lot. So hopefully they'll be able to. It's designed to work. Don't know if it really will, but it is designed to work.
And people are not supposed to bump into your fence, but they may very well do that, making their U-turn. So make it a good fence. So you say fence, you're talking about the landscape timber structure that was the border?
Yes, like a wooden guardrail.
Yep, good. That looks nice and rugged. I like it. Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
All right, Jennifer?
Great. That was a great presentation. Thank you very much, Megan. And I don't have anything further to add or any further questions. I think all the other commissioners have any questions I had in your presentation was great. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ed?
I concur with Megan's presentation. Well done. Nothing to add. I think we got all the answers that I was pretty much looking for.
Okay, I just had one comment or question, on the parking lot near the tennis courts. The current grades, Megan, seem to suggest some ponding in the middle by elevation, near the tennis courts around 130. There's like a sort of a depression there.
Yep.
And-
I redesigned what you guys currently have. After going over it with Tom, we don't think that the water would have flowed enough, so we kind of redid that area. It's very critical. So it's definitely going to be something that we have to pay attention to during construction, but we did redesign that a little bit to get the water to flow a little bit better.
Okay, that basically, in other words, you folks recognize the problem as well.
Yes.
Okay, and so the intent is for the contractor to do some grading and make it so everything pitches to the swale, gently to the swale.
Yes, there's going to be, if you're looking at the plan, there's going to be a split in that, right where those tennis courts are. That part of it will go towards one side, and then the other will be actually pushed all the way to the other around the corner.
Okay, to make sure that it comes out that way, Megan, is it intending that the engineering department is going to be out there with the contractor to make sure he understands what's intended?
Yes, I'll be managing the project, so I'll be out there, and I'll probably do a level run and take shots during that whole process to make sure that they hit the grades at what they're supposed to be.
Good, that makes me feel good about the whole process then. You'll be there, great. Okay, I don't have
Larry, this is
anything.
Bill. I had one
Yes.
more question that I forgot
Go
on my
right
turn.
ahead.
The walkway to the shed that you're putting in, is that going to interrupt the swale or go over the swale?
We'll have the piping go, it's gonna go over it. We'll have the piping go
Okay.
under it, but there just won't be places for that water to drain. So
right.
it'll just be paved right over that small section. It's not that large.
Okay, but the pipe will continue underneath it.
Yes, it won't stop.
Good, great, thank you.
I actually had one more, Megan, if you don't mind, over by on Mill Street. The parking lot, I think the answer is the same. The parking lot seems to be lower than the bank. And so if you're looking for it to go into the swale, there's a little bit of an issue there. So I assume you're going to be doing some grading to either raise it up or skim off the adjacent area so it flow. I mean, what are you going to do to make it happen?
So we'll grade we'll grade all the way down. Based off of our calculations, it should work because the pipe will be at where the bank is, if that makes sense, rather than like, we don't want the water coming off of the swale into the pipe, or into the stream. We want it to drain to the stream where we have it located.
Well, let me ask you, you're showing a continuous swale and you're not indicating where the trees are. Are you going to be right on the center line of the trees, or are you going to be far enough in front? I mean, is there
We'll
any
be in front of the trees. Basically, where the grass swale is proposed is currently where parking lot material is now. Where there's pavement is now, that material is going to come out and a grass swale is going to go in.
Larry, can I just ask regarding that? So, we noticed because that area, obviously with the stream and that parking lot fills up with water, a lot of those trees, those roots are pretty raised, probably because of the wetness. And so we did have some concern that, when you started digging there, that may damage some of the roots of the trees. So do you have a plan if, when the work is done, those trees die? Because those trees provide really important kind of shade to the stream there. And that would be a big loss if those trees died. So is there a plan if those trees suffer from the construction?
We can make one.
Okay.
There's not currently a plan, but I can definitely make a plan for that.
So I think, if there's any damage to those trees, I think they should be replaced.
Yeah. The hope is that they won't. The grass swale is only a foot down, so hopefully there isn't too much damage to the trees. But if there is, then we will want to replace them.
Yeah, some of those roots may even go, into the parking lot. So.
Okay, if there's nothing else, is there anyone in the audience for this or anyone else who would like to make a comment?
If not, Larry, I'd like to add one thing.
Please do.
We noticed while we were there that snow removal, as far as where it's all put, seems to be where the parallel parking is going to be. I think that's going to continue that way.
That is a question for Brendan, because I am not sure what they're going to want to do with snow removal.
It just so happened that while we were there, somebody couldn't get out back into the snow, so we backed out of the area to bypass us standing there. So it was all because the snow was piled up right along that area.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it always is, that the snow is pushed to that. It may change because, that's an area where things just sit and collect, and people can't park usually because it's a big pool of water. But historically, that's what they've been doing.
Are you talking about the parking lot off of Mill Street?
Actually, along the stream area, right there, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, along
Off
Mill
of
Street.
So right now, because it is a wide swath of parking lot over there and not defined, we feel like going forward, we looked at this and we'll be able to put snow into those parking spots. We'll plow to that area, and there'll be enough parking spots along the playground and the shed and the bathroom building for people to still utilize the park in the winter.
Okay.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you all for those comments. We have, the next meeting is on March 25th. I didn't hear anyone for anybody in the audience for this. So, John, would you anticipate that we could just close and issue the permit on March 25th?
Larry, you sure there's nobody in the audience? Did you ask?
Well, no one said anything.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that you asked. That's okay.
Yeah, no.
Yes, Larry, and we did get a DEP file number as well, so yes.
Okay, so Megan, we'll see you in 2 weeks and we'll wrap this up for you.
Thank you.
We need a vote to
Alright.
continue. Larry, we need a
All
vote
right,
to,
could I have a motion? Could I have a motion to continue the hearing for 70 Mill Street, Rohannes Park,
So
to
moved.
reconstruct the parking lot?
So moved, Indra.
Second, Jennifer.
Okay, and that motion is to include the date March 25th, continue to March 25th. All right, since we have a second, Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
We have Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. It's continued by a vote of 7-0-0 to March 25th. All right, thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Take care. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night. Okay, the next is, we're gonna skip number 5 because that was continued, as I said earlier. We'll go to the continued public hearing notice of intent for Redmond Street roadway, which is file number 122-646, number 4 Redmond Street, which is file number 122-645, and number 5 Redmond Street, which is file number 122-644. This is a continued public hearing and are proposing that we talk about all 3 at once for obvious reasons. All right, someone here for that?
Good evening. This is Phyllis Etzel. I don't know if you can see me. I'm having an issue with my computer this evening. But you can hear me, I hope.
We can't see you, but we can certainly hear you, Phyllis.
Okay. I don't think I can fix it at the moment, but as long as you can hear me, I think we're okay. Okay, I'm here with David Romero, Mary Trudeau, and Bill Rudolph. At your last meeting, we agreed to submit information to you and documents. They were full-size paper copies of the plans. Sequence of work for the house on Lot 5 in connection with the house that we're going to build on, 5 Redmond Street. Some explanation of how we arrived at the wetland fill calculation and information regarding the soil evaluator for the test pit information with the logs. And those have all been submitted to you. We had also discussed donating a parcel, a 1.7 acre parcel of land in lieu of on-site replication. And we had asked DEP for an opinion. We have not received that yet, and I'm hoping we will by the next meeting. The other outstanding issue is that John Keeley did want to look at the wetland flags again, and I believe you wanted to schedule another site walk. Notwithstanding the donating that parcel in lieu of on-site replication, these plans do meet the DEP and bylaw performance standards. With that, I will give it back to you, and hopefully you'll have some comments and any questions I think we'll be able to answer.
Okay, Phyllis, normally say nice to see you, but I'm going to say nice to hear you. in this
Yeah,
case.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure what happened here, but
That's all right. You're,
I'll have to
you're
work
absolutely,
on it.
Phyllis, you're quite clear tonight, so that's fine.
Thank you.
All right, John or Eileen, we've received some materials on soil evaluation, and we have, I guess, a revised a plan. Do you have any comments or concerns or outstanding issues to flag at this point?
So the only concern I have with the material that was submitted is 4 of the test pit logs, the person listed as witnessing them was Eileen, which is great, but Eileen's not a licensed soil evaluator. So I think the Board of Health, the planning board is going to require that the Board of Health witness all the test pits. So that's the only concern.
Okay. Well, unless the applicant has something more to say initially, why don't
I can address that if you'd like. Yeah, so
Sure.
we had scheduled the Board of Health to be out there that day, and they canceled the day of the testing. We'd already had the machine out there and everything scheduled, so we went ahead with the test pits. I will say that that day of test pits, the first day, we didn't get good results anyway, and we're not using any of those test pits for our design. It was the following day that we did the test pits, and when the Board of Health was present, and those are the test pits that we're actually using for our system. So this first day, we're not even using those test pits anyway. So.
Right. It says Christine Mathis was there for the Board of Health.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. All right. Why don't we just go down our list and see if people have questions or comments on what we have so far. And then we can decide where to go. Dawn?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes?
Can you guys hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to share my screen if possible so that I went down there yesterday and took some photographs and I'd just like to share them with everybody. So,
Eileen or John can probably make that happen.
I have one if he has trouble, but
I'm sharing it now. Can you see, everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, so I walked, I drove into the end of Redmond, walked down onto the property to the beginning, and this is taken from the stream looking north. This is looking northeast up at Raymond Road. You can see a significant incline. Looking east, looking southeast, and looking south, that's Redmond Road. That's 3 Redmond Road right there. And this is looking southwest, and this is looking west. So the stream is running through west to east. These are elevations. I pulled these from Google Earth, and the Google Earth does a good job with accuracy. And what you can see is the property is basically at the center of the catch basin. Everything's going down into the property. So you can have everything collecting somewhere in here. I estimate the elevation between Redmond and Redmond Road extension in your section is probably about 127. And then if you put in a basement, if it's 12 feet more, it's about 115. That's the elevation there. So that's the lowest point in the area, probably. So are you including in your construction designs pumping systems, plans for sump pumps? Those basements probably are going to get pretty wet. And if so, wondering where the water will drain. What are your plans for that? It would be good to see it, and if you could provide it an overlay that would go right on top of this Google Earth document image that would show the the exact placement of the project. That would give us a better idea of the positioning, but it looks like it's right here. And given all these things, and with the consideration also to heavy equipment moving in and out, how can this not present some sort of a hazardous or an environmental threat to the wetlands? That would be my main question, and I don't expect you to answer right now unless you can, but something I just wanted to put out there, and that's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Romero, do you have any comments at this point? You're not required to at this point.
Well, I'm not sure what these elevations are. I don't know what datum that those are based on, but our road is going to be at elevation 145. Yeah,
That doesn't look like it.
Our low point for our catch basins is catch basins are 146. So I'm not really sure. Not really sure what those elevations that you show on the screen. I'm not sure what they represent.
The 145 on 3 Redmond Road is consistent with what you're saying. And then if you look straight across, you'll see 127 at the intersection of Redmond Road Extension. And I think it's this street here coming in. So you've got right in here where your project is, you're going to have, all I'm pointing out is you're going to have a much lower elevation where the basements are in the houses. And that's where I'm wondering if you're putting in sump pumps and how you plan to drain the water out with the pumps.
Yeah, so our basements, we have one basement, both our basements are 141. That's exposed right now.
Well, it looks, it's hard to say because from what I can see, Google Earth won't read the ground in the center where you are, it reads your treetops. So
yeah, so we did an on the ground survey. We have a very detailed survey of the whole area with elevations on the plan as required. And we have designed to those elevations. And that's what our plan shows. And we do show a road that's going to be filling across wetlands, and we're aware of that. And we are going to be raising the road somewhat to put in our utilities. And we do have elevations for our houses. And again, our basement's at 141 for both houses, approximately.
So you are planning on putting pumps in?
No, we're not trying to put pumps in at this point. No, we do have pumps for the sewer to get the sewer out of our houses because of the grade of the road. But that's the only pumps that we're proposing right now.
Okay.
So, David?
Yeah.
Just to follow up on that question, so is it fair to say that you are raising the elevation of the proposed construction area 2 to 4 feet? Is that what's going on?
The road, yeah, we're definitely raising the elevations in the roadway. The lots themselves, we are raising number 5. We are going to raise that lot a little bit, but the back of that is already at 140, about 140 as is now. So we're kind of going to be matching the back of the yard of a lot of number 5, and number 4 is, again, we're going to be matching grade there as well. It's about 140 as well, the backyard of that one.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. That was a good question, Don. Gail?
So mostly there's a couple of things I just need clarification on, or just to review, and maybe John or anyone can answer this. So these are both outside the 40-foot no build, although the house 4 it comes very close to it. It like kisses the side of the house, if I'm correct, looking at that. This is, house 5 is within the riverfront, correct?
No, it's not. It's just outside the riverfront.
It is? Okay, maybe I was looking at the elevation line instead of the riverfront line. So they're both outside the riverfront, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The houses, yes.
Okay, the infiltrator though for house 5 is in the riverfront, is that
It
correct?
is, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, yep. Okay, and then we also have some wetland filling here. There's no plan for replication, and is that because you're still waiting for, hear from the state?
Yeah, I think Mary can probably address that.
Okay.
Maybe.
Hello? David, can you hear me?
Mary, can you have an audio? You're muted right now, Mary.
Now am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, at this point in time, we have not proposed replication for our wetlands alteration. The reason that we have asked DEP to render an opinion on whether the donation of a gift of land would be an appropriate alternative to the creation of a traditional wetlands replication area is that we are proposing this wetlands crossing as a limited project. And that means that we don't have an alternative means of accessing this site without the alteration of wetlands. The language in the regulations, if you do a typical 5,000 square foot fill alteration, which is just at the discretion of the Conservation Commission, it mandates wetlands replication. Limited projects are slightly different, that there is ambiguous language in the regulations that says to the extent possible, replication shall be provided. And when we look at this site, we feel there's a value to the upland forests that are in really good shape on this property and relatively intact. So we felt it was worth asking the question of DEP, would they accept the gift of land to the town as a replacement for the wetlands replication? If DEP comes back and says no, our interpretation of the regulations is that if you can physically create the replication area, you have to do it, then we will be modifying our plans and submitting an alternative to your commission.
And I just have one other question, and I don't know what the distance may be not make this not an issue, but so house 5, does that slope towards Raymond Road?
Will you share the plans? Bill?
If you look at the grades there, when I looked at it, it looked like the house 5 kind of slopes down towards Raymond Road.
Yeah, it does. Yes,
So
it does.
is there going to be any issue there with kind of, extra water going on to Raymond Road?
No, I mean, it slopes there now. It is kind of a high point where the house is going to be.
Right, but there's more pervious, impervious
Yeah, but we'll
structure
be
there.
collecting the roof. We'll be collecting all the roof runoff and put it into infiltration on site.
Okay.
So we don't foresee that. And the driveway itself will be going into the roadway system and the catch basins. So we don't see any introduction of any new surface runoff onto the lot.
Have you accounted for, so one of the things I guess is that, you're filling in wetland, which serves a purpose in terms of gathering excess water. Have your calculations accounted for the loss of that versus your infiltrators? Is it doing the same job?
Well, infiltration is to
Yeah, I know. I didn't mean infiltrators, but I mean I know I said that, then I remembered infiltrators. I know what that does. That loss of the wetland, and the purpose it serves in terms of absorbing stormwater. Is your drainage system going to equal that in terms of taking up that water that's coming from different places and gathering there, because water is going to go somewhere. I mean, it doesn't disappear just because you fill in the wetland. It's going there now. Does your system account for that?
Our runoff will all be going back into the ground. So we're recharging essentially everything back into the ground. So
I understand that, but the wetland has, special types of plants and structure to it that serves that purpose of acting like a sponge. And I mean, when you infiltrate it into a different place, does that purpose still serve the same way? I don't think it does, because it's not necessarily have the same, material and plant material that a wetland would.
Yeah, this is Bill. I agree with you. I don't think it does. I think that's why replication is required, is because that's the only way to make up for that function.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I mean, I don't have calculations that can show what kind of absorption happens with wetland plants. I don't know that, no.
There's lots of literature that shows how important wetlands are, and you can look all over the country, look at 128 as it cuts through every wetland, that there are problems. The reason why we have so much flooding is because of the loss, in part because of the loss of wetlands, and their structure is unique to allow for that. And by losing them, you're losing that valued source of taking up stormwater. Larry, I'm done.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt you. Okay. All right, Indra.
No, I don't have anything right now. Thank you.
All right, Bill.
You mentioned that the initial test pits did get, quote, not good results. What does that mean specifically? And does that mean that you had to relocate the infiltration to a place that tested better?
Yes, that's exactly what we meant, yeah. So
Okay, so
where we had initially proposed our infiltration system is where we tested, and we found that we didn't have sufficient groundwater separation. So that's why we went out there again the second time, and we did find out in the back of actually house number 5, we found much better soils, all nice sand and gravels, and we found groundwater down at an elevation that we could manage, and that's why we did new test pits, and that's why we relocated our infiltration system.
Okay, so you managed to find something that worked from the sounds of it. I still think there's too much water here to try to squeeze houses in. That's been my opinion all along. You said, Mary said that, when trying to make the case to DEP, you're willing to say, oh, there's value to the upland forest and we hate to disturb it. I feel the same way about the wetland and the lower level stuff, that, it shouldn't be disturbed. Replacing or filling in that wetland to make the crossover without replication, donating the property, I mean, that's a wonderful gesture. I don't have a problem with that. But the issue is, to me, that still doesn't replicate the lost wetland. Changing the ownership on that title of property doesn't, to me, make up for the loss of wetland. So I'm still having difficulty with this project. That is all I have at the moment.
Could I make a comment at this point? And it probably doesn't matter all that much at this point, but a lot of that water that's coming down and created that wetlands is coming from a subdivision that was approved. I don't have it in front of me, but it was the Ainsworth Street subdivision, and there was an easement from that, allowing water from that subdivision to flow down onto what is now 4 Redmond Street. Now, it's neither here nor there because it was approved that way, and probably, and permits were given. But that is where the water's coming from.
did you see the video from Raymond Road? That's where the water's coming from, or at least a great deal of it.
I'm just saying maybe a great deal of it, but if you go back and look at Ainsworth Street subdivision, I think you'll understand where some of the water's coming from, a good part of it.
Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually think that Gail and William's point is very interesting, because a wetland does have certain functions attributed to it, not only through the regulations, but just as a scientific principle. We are hoping that the DEP weighing in on the question of the replication will give us some idea of their perspective on the value of that less than 5,000 square feet of alteration with respect to some of the interests that Gail has alluded to. I also think that it's extremely difficult to quantify how you replace specific values. That one of the things we did on this crossing was that we met the stream crossing guidelines set up by the Army Corps of Engineer. And in that, they have attempted to provide mitigation for stream loss by discussing such issues as like the openness ratio and the natural bottom of the stream channel, because those were interests that they prioritized when you were doing a stream crossing. I mean, you certainly could do a crossing in many other ways, but we've been given guidelines that show us how to do it in a way that the Army Corps feels is appropriate and will have the least impact on our project. It can be argued that uplands also provide some of the functions that a wetland would lose, but I do agree with you that there are unique characteristics to an area, upland or wetland, that when you alter it, you have to take into consideration. I think that I'm going to be very interested in what the department says. The 5,000 square foot threshold has typically been an amount that the DEP has said is de minimis, that if you lose 5,000 square feet, you're not likely to disturb the system as a whole. They have provisions that say if you have a finger-like projection of 500 square feet that you fill it, you don't even have to mitigate for it. So somewhere between 500 square feet, where the department says that's such a small loss that you don't necessarily have to mitigate for it, and 5,000 square feet, where they have typically required one-for-one replication, is where they're going to fall on this spectrum. And whether they determine that the function of keeping that larger wildlife corridor, upland forest, or open space area intact goes towards mitigating for the loss of the somewhat near 5,000 square feet of alteration at the stream, I think that that's going to be important for all of us to consider.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Jennifer?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I think that Gail and Bill definitely both hit a lot of the points on the head that I had brought, or that we had discussed last time. And I think that obviously this is not going to be closed out tonight because there's a few things that are outstanding. But I think it'll be interesting to hear the follow-up, Mary, like you said, from the DEP, where they stand on this. I think that'll be interesting. We'll see. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Ed?
I've got nothing to add to it.
Okay, folks, I have three questions, or maybe they're comments, I'm not sure. The first one, I think maybe I'd suggest, David, that you might want to write something up, and so we have it for the file. I'm concerned about not concerned, I have a question about the infiltration area. And what I noticed is, and it may be I just don't know enough, so I'll grant you that ahead of time. What I noticed is that infiltration area 8, which is where you're proposing to infiltrate, has a soil horizon layer of A for 9 inches down, which is usually pretty good infiltration. B, 9 to 15 inches down, which is normally pretty good. And then you have some lesser infiltration, usually with C, which is parent soil. And it starts at 15 inches and goes down to 54. And I'm wondering how well your infiltration works when this has a very thin A horizon and B horizon at that location. When I looked at this, I'm not sure where the question is here, but I'm getting there. When I look at test pit 7 and test pit 10, I noticed that in test pit 7, that C horizon starts like twice the distance down. Instead of 15 inches down, starts at 33 inches down. And I noticed that on test pit number 10, which is in the sort of in the general area, that again, it's twice the distance, where the A and B area is 30 inches down and not 15 inches down like test pit 8. So my first question is, and you don't have to fully explain it to now, but why is the area of test pit A better location for the soil for the infiltrator? And the second question is, part B of this question is, if your infiltrator has, say, 14 inches on top, which is what your detail shows, and the infiltrator itself is like 20 inches, you are positioning, I'm sure it has something to do with the elevation in place, that if you're filling at a certain location, I don't know. But it seems like that the infiltrator itself is going to take up like 32, 34 inches, and that's well into the C horizon by the soil boring. And I'm wondering if you're really going to have 2 feet of good infiltration below the infiltrator so it works. I admit when I ask all these questions, I may not fully understand. So
Yeah, so, okay, yeah, so you're right. So the A horizon is a natural horizon, which is mostly usually loamy soil, and the B horizon is the same. So actually, those are the less permeable soil horizons. The C horizon is actually the more permeable one. That's all the sand and gravel. That's where we want to be. That's where we want the water to go. So
I thought
that's where we're putting it.
excuse me 1 second. I thought the C
Yeah.
horizon often has clay in it, some clay in it.
Sometimes it does, but in our case, this sea horizon is very, very much coarse sand and gravel. So that's one reason we chose it. It's a very sandy soil, and it's very conducive for what we want to do, infiltration. So actually, this is excellent soil to be infiltration in. And you do really normally you don't want to use the A and B horizons, because that does have silt and clay in it. So we are using the best part of the soil horizon that we want. And that's the C, in this case, the C horizon. So it's actually excellent.
So it's not full of clay, in other words.
Not always. Sometimes it is. Yeah, but in this case, it's all sand and gravel down there.
All right. Okay. That
So the
explains that.
yeah, the C horizon is simply like you said, the parent soil, and that's where the sand and gravels are, and that's where we want to be. We don't normally want to use A and B for infiltration. We use excavate that and use that loam somewhere else. We don't really usually want to be in that.
Okay. And how about, do you have, if your infiltrator is 32 inches and you need 2 more feet and 24, that gives you 50, you need 56 inches to have good infiltration. Do you have that condition for suitable infiltration, David?
Yeah. So we put the system 2 feet above the groundwater, and all of that is sand and gravel. So we have 2 feet of sand and gravel below our system, and our system itself is going to also be in the sand and gravel. So yeah, it's in a good bed of good material, good pervious material.
All right. So you folks are satisfied you have a good position for the infiltrator.
Yeah, actually, we were surprised that we found such good soils out there. But that whole back of the lot, like you said, test pits 7, 8, 10, they all have sand and gravel in them. So it's all that whole area is a good area.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
The second and third question is a little bit easier. Easy for you to answer, not so easy for me to ask sometimes. The second question is, I noticed on your sequence of work, should the sequence of work have anything to protect the infiltration area from compaction? Should you have a line item in there on doing something to protect that area?
We don't have one, but you're right. We should have something there to note that, because once we put that in, we're not gonna have anybody get near it. And
Right.
actually, yeah, you're right, and we'll just fill it, but we will keep machines away from that anyway, because we don't want the system damaged. But I can add a line item for that, sure.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the last question is sort of, I'm just wondering, in the area that you are proposing for a 1.7 acre donation, if DEP comes back and says you have to replicate, is that parcel within the same reach of wetland that you could actually find an area where you could replicate on that 1.7 acres?
We have considered that, Larry. That's one of our alternatives. We have several locations on the site that we've looked at as potential footprint areas for the wetlands replication area, but it is possible that doing it on that lot would be appropriate.
Okay, so it might be possible.
It might be possible. We haven't done a lot of survey work on that lot, and we haven't done any wetlands flagging, but I do believe there is some upland area there that could be transitioned to a wetland if that's where we end up.
Okay, that's all three questions that I have. Let me ask if, in the audience, is there anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment or has a question?
Hi, my name is Linda from Raymond Road, 17 Raymond Road.
Sure, nice to see you.
Hi. I just had a question. Do we ever do any kind of wildlife impact evaluation before we do this kind of construction?
I couldn't hear the question.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I couldn't hear the question.
Do we ever do some type of wildlife impact evaluation when we do all this kind of construction?
Yeah, she's asking about wildlife impacts.
Okay. One of the ways that the Wetlands Protection Act has acted to protect wildlife habitat, not wildlife per se, but wildlife habitat, is that if your alteration goes over a specific threshold, you are required to do a wildlife habitat analysis. We have not had to do one because our level of threshold is low, that we are currently under 5,000 square feet of alteration for bordering vegetated wetland and less than 50 linear feet for bank operation. The way that the regulations are set up is sometimes confusing too, because people will say, oh, we have coyotes in the area, what are you doing to protect them? And typically when you look to protect wildlife in Massachusetts under the Wetlands Protection Act regulations, you protect the habitat, so that which is a little different way of looking at it. Like you may have an interest in a specific species that you enjoy watching, but the regulations protect the habitat rather than the animal itself. So we might leave the site in a condition that we feel would be conducive for a particular type of animal, but it might leave because it doesn't like having houses there. So there are changes that are sometimes predictable, but are not really addressed in the regulation. Likewise, things like raccoons and possums love it when you put a new house in because they have trash cans, but we don't specify that people have trash cans just to serve wildlife.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. Is there anyone else who has a comment on what's going on here for the?
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Yes, please.
The thing is, I totally agree with Bill's comment, and I also have problem that loss of wetland with no replication. I understand that threshold 5,000 square feet, but I still have some problem with that. and let's see what DEP says.
Right,
Thank you.
right. Okay, is there anybody else who has a comment before I try to close this out for today?
Larry, I do.
Yes,
Okay, just a handful of things. One, thanks to Dawn's photos, it appears that the snow is pretty much gone from the area, so we should be able to get out and review the wetland delineation next week and maybe schedule a site visit either next week or the week after before the next meeting. A couple of other things. One, there was this isn't really the applicant's fault. This is really the town's policy. But the proposed water quality structure is outside the right-of-way, as is the infiltrator. So the catch basins are in the right-of-way, but then the storm scepter or whatever it's going to be, contact or whatever, is going to be the responsibility of a property owner. I'd just like to point out that there, at the end of the existing Redmond Road, there is a storm scepter in the people's lawn. And I can guarantee you that storm scepter has probably never been cleaned and the people don't have a clue about it. This isn't really anything that the applicant can do. It's a town policy, but it's a problem. And the other issue is, so the amount of wetland filling proposed shown on the plan is for the T turnaround at the end of the road. It's not altogether certain that the planning board is going to allow that, and they may require some sort of a cul-de-sac, which would require additional wetland filling. That wouldn't be, I'm not sure that would qualify as a limited project because it's not a crossing. But that still remains to be seen how the planning board will come down on the actual turnaround versus the cul-de-sac. Thank you, Larry.
okay. So what I heard was that you're going to schedule with the commission a site visit. Is it possible to take a look at that 1.7 acres at the same time? John?
I'm not sure I'd be able to find it out there. There's no landmarks or anything. Unless the applicants come with us.
I don't know if we could do it on the same day.
Right.
I don't even know how easily we could get in there. It's probably pretty dense.
Right.
Might have.
And muck boots will probably be required as well.
We might even have to cut. I don't know. I don't know. Let me talk with David about it and Mr. Murray about that. And
Yeah,
I
maybe
think it would take too much time on that day.
Yeah. Maybe we should postpone that until we get an answer back from DEP anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. What did anyone hear anything else? I'm wondering, David, if you could write up a couple of paragraphs relative to the placement of the infiltrator and justify the location and that it meets enough height to do proper infiltration. I think a simple paragraph, the way it sounds, would be more than sufficient for the record.
Yeah, that's fine. I can do that. No problem.
That's great. Did anyone hear anything else that I don't want to leave something out? And Gail or Jen or anybody, Indra, is there anything more that we need from them? Well, your silence speaks volumes, guys.
No, nothing.
All right. Okay. Given that's the case, is the March 25th meeting the most appropriate time to continue this to?
Yes.
All right. So could I have a motion to continue this meeting on the hearing for the Redmond Street roadway, number 4 Redmond Redmond Street, and number 5, Redmond Street. Continue all 3 hearings until March 25th meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission meeting.
Moved.
Second,
Second, Ed.
Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 7-0-0. The Redmond Street roadway for Redmond Street and 5 Redmond Street hearings will be continued to March 25th. All right, folks, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good evening, everyone.
You too. Thank you.
Larry, Don Cathcart, thank you, Don, for catching this. We skipped over number 5. We need to vote to continue number 5.
I could have sworn we did that.
Well, you discussed it at the beginning, but we didn't vote to continue.
Did we have a motion?
No.
I must be losing it because I thought it was done. Okay. I'll do it again to make sure then.
You
no,
said
we
it, not
have
us,
it.
Larry.
What's that?
I said, you said it, not us, about you losing it.
Yeah, no motion.
No, Larry, at the beginning of the meeting, you discussed how it was being continued.
Right.
But then we never actually had a vote on it.
We had a vote on continuing 70 Mill Street, but that was at
Right.
Park.
Yeah.
But not
I think it's that vaccination shot that makes me crazy.
Don't say that. You'll
Okay.
get more percentage of people who won't join the herd.
Oh, all right. Okay, could I have a motion to continue the hearing for 70 Mill Street, Rohannes Park, to reconstruct the parking lots till March 25th?
No, I'm sorry, Larry. It's 174 Middlesex Turnpike we need to continue.
Right.
Oh, so I'm not crazy. I knew I did Rohannes Park.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Could I have a motion to continue 174 Middlesex Turnpike, which is the multifamily residential building for Nordblum Development Company to continue that open hearing to March 25th?
So moved, Indra.
Second,
Second.
Bill.
Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 7-0-0. 174 Middlesex hearing is continued until March 25th. Okay. Next is administrative. Do we have any comments we have to convey to the planning board, John or Eileen?
No.
Okay. Subcommittee and staff reports and updates. John, would you like to mention the meeting that we had with Bob Buckley and Christine Hung for a minute?
Sure. So Bob Buckley and Reamer, on behalf of the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce, were just reaching out to us for some information on the stormwater bylaw revision and just finding out what it's about and asking us to actually make a presentation to the chamber, just so that they're on board with what we're doing. So we explained what it's about, and they were basically fine with it, and but they do want the whole chamber to get the rundown on it. So we're scheduled, I think, a week from Monday to meet them online.
Right. Okay, upcoming meetings, March 25th is the next meeting. The one after that is April 8th. Do we have anything on the other business?
I had a quick question.
Yes.
I read on BCAT that they're going to do some trail work in the landlocked forest and that they're going to bring it to us. Is that going to come to us at like a future meeting or anything? Is that in the plans or?
Yes. So it's a trail from the Wright Farm into the landlocked forest. There was a trail there before, but there was a big 40B development that went in Lexington that wiped out part of the trail. So they just have to relocate it. And the portion of it that's going to be in Burlington will be a crossing, a wetland crossing. I think it was a stream actually, but I walked it with them and we picked the location for the narrowest crossing. But they will be filing a notice of intent for that work.
Cool, thanks. I was just curious when I read about it, so sounds good.
John, at Wright Farm, is there parking for cars?
So there's they don't encourage it, but it's allowed. It's I don't think Lexington has completely figured out what they're going to do with the Wright Farm. It is designated as conservation land. I don't think they like people hanging around there because there's buildings and there's danger of vandalism, but you can park there and you'll be fine.
Okay. All right, anything else under other business? Nothing further. Why don't we adjourn? Could I have a motion, please?
So move, Bill.
Second, Gail.
All right, Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes?
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 700. The meeting's adjourned. Everyone, have a good night.
Have a good night.
You too.
Night all.
And everybody.